you have finished your headband. Congratulations on your first knitting project. The last thing we're going to be doing is learning how to seam our headband together. And I've already seamed my headband. This is what the inside looks like. We're going to be learning today how to do a mattress stitch. That is my favorite stitch to sew together my knitting projects because it gives a nice finish. It does leave a little bit of edge on the inside. There are other types of seaming methods that do not leave an edge. Okay, so let's learn how to do the mattress stitch. You will need your darning needle, your yarn. I'm going to use a light colored yarn today because I'm going to have I have a sample here of knitting that we're going to be seaming together. So in order for you to see what we're going to be doing, I'm going to use a light colored yarn. So I'm going to go ahead and put my yarn through my needle. Okay. And on the wrong side, I'm going to come from the bottom to the top. I'm going to leave a little bit of tail because we have to weave in our ends. This particular seaming method is done on the right side. Some are done on the wrong side, but I like this because it's easy for me to see where to put my stitches and how I'm going to sew this together. The way the mattress stitch works is it works with 2 strands of yarn on one side and 2 on the other. Okay, right underneath the stitches. You can see I have 2 there. So I'm going to start with, on my right side, I'm going to pick up 2 strands from here. Then I'm going to move to the other side of my garment, or in this case our headband, and I'm going to go inside. This is our bind off edge. I'm going to go right inside the bind off edge and pick up 2 strands right below. There's a purl bump there from our purl stitch. I'm going to pick up 2 strands there. And then I'm going to move across over here, okay, to the next 2 strands. So I've done these 2. Now I'm going to move to the next 2. And then back over to the other side. I'm going to go right beneath this little purl bump right here and pick up, see if I can show you the way that looks if I pull this back and go right in underneath that purl bump right here. Okay, and then across to the other side, right beneath that stitch there. If you can see, I'm making like a little zigzag, and I'll show you why this is such a great seam finish. Is you can continue to see what your stitches look like, and then as you get several done, you can give it a pull and it tightens right up. Okay, so I'm going to go across again, pick up 2 more, and come across again, pick up those right beneath that the purl bump right there. Moving back across, so you're creating this little bit of a zigzag. See that? Right beneath that little purl bump there. I'm going to give it a pull and it will tighten right up. Okay, so now I have seamed together this much of my garment. And if you look on the other side, you have this nice straight seam right here. I'm going to continue to do that all the way to the end, seaming it all the way. Now let's talk a little bit about how to weave in your ends once you're done. So I'm going to go to the inside of my garment, and we're going to talk a little bit about weaving in your ends. I'm going to bring my yarn here so you can see. Several rules of thumb when you're weaving in your ends. First of all is the more times you change direction, the more secure your yarn is. One thing that you don't want to ever do is to go straight up a row like this. Because what happens is it looks like it's secured on this side, but if I turn it over, you see that I haven't woven in my end at all. So we're going to talk about how to prevent that from happening. Let me take this out again and show you how we can weave in our ends. If it's on the edge of a seam, you can always just weave in on the inside edge. And I'll do kind of a little, almost a whip stitch. If it's in wool, this will hold it nicely. If you're ever making anything out of a synthetic, like a cotton, there's another way to secure your tails, and I'll cover that in a few minutes. So you can see I've just woven it in all the way, and then I can cut my yarn. There's other ways. I'm going to take this out so that you can see some other ways. If you happen to be in the middle of a row or in the middle of a garment and not on an edge, you can weave in your ends. So I'm going to my needle here. So for instance, if I'm in the middle of a garment and I need to weave in my end, I can go up and down on the row this way. Okay, that's one way. I went up and down in the stitches, and you can see it's hidden. Or I can go at a diagonal. I can go at a diagonal. I can go down this way. Whoops. Try that again. I can go down at a diagonal. You can see I'm going at an angle this way. And then I can change direction and go back up. And by changing directions, that makes your yarn very secure and it's less likely to pull out. Okay, you can see a little bit in here because I'm using yarn of a different color. Okay, so those are some ways to weave in your ends. Now if you're on a synthetic, a non-wool yarn, another thing you can do to keep your yarn secure from pulling out, because wool yarns will attach to each other and are less likely to pull out. Synthetics, they unravel, they come out very easily. So you can also weave in your ends, but then when you get to the end, if you'll take some sewing thread and you can go around and around the end of the yarn and secure it to your garment, it keeps it from pulling out. So just a little suggestion, if you're working in, say, a cotton, this happens to be a cotton washcloth, the ends come out very easily. So if I wanted it to be secure without pulling out, I would do the sewing method on the end to secure that end from pulling out. So that's how you would seam together your headband using the mattress stitch. Okay, so now that you have completed your headband and you've sewn it together, you can certainly wear it and keep your ears warm.